Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. And if you've been following along, you know we are on an epic journey to model some incredible assets right here in Blender. In our previous parts, we've covered the initial blocking, high poly sculpting, and detailing our model. And I also taught us how to use alpha map to get these ornament details or the wooden textures on the handle rather than sculpting it from scratch. In this fourth part of our series, we are tackling two absolutely crucial steps in a professional 3D workflow, which is retopology and baking. These techniques will transform our high resolution sculpt, which is this one, into a clean, low polygon mesh that looks just as good but performs better. With that, let's dive in. First off, what is retopology? Simply put, it's the process of creating a new, clean, and optimized low polygon mesh on top of our high polygon sculpt. Think of our high polygon sculpt as a detailed clay sculpture. Retopology is like creating a perfectly tailored, lightweight suit that wraps around that sculpture, but with far fewer pieces of polygons. Why do we need it? Well, if I should ask you this, which of them is a high poly and which of them is a low poly? For sure, you're going to say this one, right? Yeah, but there are two low polys now as seen currently. Okay, let me turn on my wireframe. So now you see, these ones have applied textures to them, and these I haven't. This is not the final texture, guys. Fret note. So this is the high poly. Why do we need to retopologize? Or for short, retopo. For performance sake, high polygon models are resource intensive. Low polygon models run smoothly in game engines, animation, and real-time applications. Secondly, animation and rigging. Clean and even topology with good edge flow is essential for smooth deformations while animating. If I was going to rig this and animate it, it's easier than when I want to do this one. And then UV unwrapping. A clean mesh makes good UV unwrapping much more easy and efficient. Yeah, you can UV unwrap this. But be my guest, you are going to really take a whole lot of time to do this. Or maybe you want to use another software. Yeah. But on the side of Blender, it's going to take you a while. Blender offers fantastic tools to make retopology manageable. For our case, we don't need to start doing the retopology because if you're following this series, from the very onset, I had this is a low poly. So from the low poly mesh, I duplicated this collection and I made the high poly from this. If I were to snap the high poly back, you can see that, let me turn off my wireframe. You can see that it fits perfectly. Okay. Oh, by the way, if you just want to continue from this section, I'm going to leave a link in the description where I will share access to the low polygon model. Okay. So if I were to retopo this, peradventure I don't have the low poly model, Blender has a very nice way of doing this. We can use plugins called the Retopo Flow. It's not free, but it's a very good one. Retopo Flow. There's another one called there is Speed Retopo, there's Soft Wrap, there's Quad Wrap, and then there's Quad Remesher. Oh, and also there's Gmesh. You can go to Super Hive Marketplace to get any of those plugins, okay? But if you do not want to peradventure get the plugins, right, you can actually do your retopo manually inside of Blender. First thing you will need to do is to, let's say let me just retopo this part minus the handle, okay? Let me show you. I'll bring in a cylinder. So I'll make the count 16 is fine for me. Then I'm going to scale it down. So let me come to my object property menu here. Come to viewport display. I'm going to turn on, I'll change display as to wire. So then my object will be displayed as wire. And then I'll come to my modifier menu, and then under the form, I'm going to turn on shrink wrap, and I'll target for now just this object. Okay, you can see it's shrink wrap to it already. Nice. And then I'll turn on my snap, and I'll leave my snap to faces. Okay, so if I go to edit mode, you can see that the object is looking like this, but I can also do this, enable on cache, which is going to make the shrink wrap modifier visible in object mode. If it's off, it's not going to be visible in edit mode rather. So let me go back to that, and then still in my object property menu, I can also come and say in front, so that this my object, this my retopo object is always going to be in front. Okay, so with that, I can gradually, let's first select everything, and then let's move it X somewhere around here. So it's snapping to face. Let me turn it off first, so that I can position this well. Okay, so I can select the top. See, oh, I should apply scale. I have not applied my scale. Very important. Okay, so now I can do this. Can you see? I can have it there, and this one I can have it around here, and then I can add maybe a loop cut here, and for sure it's going to snap on the. Let me go to local view face selection mode. Okay, and then I want to insert. The shrink wrap is working, and then I'm just going to move it up a bit, something like this, but it's still not clean, right? That's why I prefer using plugins to do this. It's faster for me when I'm using plugins than when I'm doing it manually. So I can also come to a modifier menu. If I turn this up, this is what I have. Okay, so when I use the shrink wrap modifier, less deformation. I can further up with this by going to edit mode, right? And then, okay, I can turn on this face selection, and then I can select the front vertex, and then, when I move, automatically it will start snapping to the faces like that. So next thing, if I want to do this, I got once again bring in the cylinder. Cylinder is like the closest mesh. You can see it's snapping to face. Let me turn it off. Something like this. Bring it down, rather scale it down, apply scale, and then let me enable the wire. Okay, so I can go to edit mode, and I can extrude it up some more around there, select this one, and then place it just around here, something like this. And let me add a couple of loop cuts here. Oh, I selected everything. I went to edit mode. That includes the high polygonal mesh. For me not to be selecting my high polygon mesh, I'm going to click on selectable. If you are not seeing this, you can come to the filter icon and enable selectable. Okay, so when you disable it, you will not be able to click anything in the high polygonal collection. So moving forward, I'm going to select this and then scale it around here. So now I can also come and add the shrink wrap modifier again, and target the letter wrap I. Okay, there you have it. I can select the low poly and then come back to my property menu and turn on textured. So this is how it looks. Let's enable a random objects, or the random material. You can see this one is the low poly and the other one is the high poly. Let's do the same for you, then switch to textured. Remember, this one is always in front, so it will be looking like that. Let's turn it off, okay? So this is how it looks. So you can go ahead and do that form of retopology if you're interested in that. But for me, I already knew what I was going to do. I had a collection of low poly already. So from the low poly, I made a high poly. If you want to know how I do that, you can go and watch the previous parts, mostly the part one. Yeah, the part one contains the modeling stage of things. Our low polygonal mesh is ready, but now we don't have those details in the low poly. Well, this is where baking comes in. Baking is the process of transferring surface information like normals, ambient occlusion, curvature, or even color from one mesh, which is our high poly mesh, to another mesh, which is our low poly mesh. Let me show you. You know that this is our low poly. Let me turn on our wireframe. This is the low poly, this is the high poly. Okay, turn it off. And the low poly looks more like the high poly, but with a low polygon count. You can even move this very easy. You can go to edit mode very easy, UV unwrap. If I try to enter edit mode like this, it's going to lag. Yeah, but yeah, there you go. For game assets, the most common bake is a normal map, which fixes surface bumps and dents. We'll focus primarily on just baking the normal maps. Okay, so if I should go, let's zoom in and you can see that this is just a cylinder. But when you go to material preview, you can see that it has the details of the high poly, it's just faking it. And for most games, you wouldn't zoom in. I can correct this, no problem. You won't zoom in much to be seeing all of this stuff. If you're looking at it from this part, you can be wondering, this is nice. Okay, for us to bake, I'm going to hide this one that I've already done, and let's work with another one here. Okay, so for us to be able to bake, we need to prepare our mesh. We need to check if the mesh is well ready, check if there is any vertices or overlap. I know I have gone ahead and cleaned this mesh because while I was working, I did that. Okay, so I'm just going around looking where to clean and where to edit. I think I want to cut around here and one more just here. I don't know why, but I feel I should do that and then take this in something like this. I feel this is going to come back to haunt me. Or don't worry, leave it the way it is. After the baking, I can do whatever I want to do. Okay, so the next thing is to get our UVs. Okay, so to get the UVs, I'll select everything in the low poly, go to the UV editing workspace. Oh, I have tweaked this workspace. So by default, let me clear everything. Okay, so by default, this is how, let me just remove all the materials I added for visual purposes. Out. Okay, so all the materials are gone. So when you open the UV editing workspace, by default, we are going to just have something like this. Okay, I have gone ahead and did the UVs, but let me clear everything. Let me clear sim. Okay, so no more UVs. So now let's do the UV. I'm going to UV just the blade, and then I'm going to skip the rest, okay? So I'll go to edit mode, select the blade. Yeah, that's still going to show there, don't worry. Let me go to local view by pressing the /. My screencast is not visible. That's because of, let's drag it out. Where is it? Okay. Let's set origin. Yeah, okay, cool. So let's bring it out. Awesome. So when I went to local view, I just pressed the /, okay? So what I want to do, I'm going to cut my seam around here. Mark seam by pressing Ctrl E and go to the edge menu. Or I can still access the edge menu from here. I can come to edge and I'll still say mark seam. It's the same thing, okay? So I'm going to speed through me marking seam. Okay, so I have marked seam. I'll press A, now press U, and I'll say unwrap. Or I can come to UVs and I can say unwrap, same thing. But you can see our unwrap is very, very ugly. You can also do this. You can come to U and say Smart UV projects. That's very quick and easy. Yeah, it gives you your UVs automatically, but most of the time I like controlling how my UVs are. I like controlling my work, okay? But if it's like for an asset that is not like the main asset, like the main asset of this thing, why not? Smart UV project is very quick and dirty way to go with it. Apart from that, you should just do your unwrapping manually. I don't know what the hell is wrong with my mouse, but the middle mouse the middle click has been acting up for some days. Maybe I'm going to have to get a new mouse. If I don't press the button so hard, it's not going to press, and it's so annoying. Rather, it's not going to click. Okay, so I'm going to put some more here. Oh, I just used shift arrow. Shift arrow is like to repeat my previous action. Be careful not to max him in the wrong area. I almost did that and I noticed it, and then I okay, I finished marking sim. Let's see. AU unwrap. This is fine, but there's something I don't like when this one is long. That means I did not mark sim here. Okay. So let's do it one more time. Cool. But there's something wrong again. I'm having an overlap in the middle. That means, see one more time. There's something wrong here. Oh, well, that's how you troubleshoot. And then you narrow it down. Beautiful. So now I'm going to speed through the rest part of the UVs of unwrapping, so that this video is not going to take forever. Okay, so I'm done with the UV unwrapping, but if I select everything and I go to edit mode, you can see they are all overlapping each other, which is not good. The next thing you would want to do is I can come to, in my UV editing workspace, I come to UVs and I'll say average island, and then I'll say pack island. And this is just Blender's default method of packing island, and then it's going to pack it and arrange everything into one single space. But if you don't want to stress yourself for that, there is this free tool. You can come to edit. To get the tool, you can come to edit, preferences. Under get extensions, you can search for UV toolkit. Yeah, here it is. I already have mine installed. Or you can come to this website, extensions.blender.org, and you can get it from there. I'm using Blender 4.2, so yeah. So after that, you can come here and say pack. It's just going to pack and average the island scale automatically. If you want to be meticulous, why I like using this plugin is I can select this. Oh, I have to disable this. Okay, so now select that. And then I can come to straighten UVs. I can straighten my UVs if I want to. Straighten UVs, straighten UVs. And you can see it's overlapping. Overlap is very bad. We shouldn't have an overlap. You can see I'm only straightening the ones that are looking a little bit rectangular. If I should straighten something like this, for example, are you seeing? And even if it doesn't do that, my UVs are going to be very terrible. If I should come to these overlays, I'll click down here and I'll click UV stretch and I'll enable it. You can see that dark blue is good, and these ones that I stretched, you can see that it has some shade of blue. If I should undo. Are you seeing this? This is the default way and it's looking way more better, but it's not a crime to have a little shade of blue. It's still fine. So I can come again and say pack so that those overlap are going to leave. But one of my favorite all-time UV packing tool is UV Master, UV Pack Master. I so much love this tool. So I'm going to say pack. And yeah, I can fix scale and some other stuff. You see, it's just going to, it's overlap shade. Okay, so there was an overlap somewhere which has been packed. Okay, so there was an overlap and then it sorted it out for me. That's just what it's saying. Another thing I might want to also do in my UV toolkit, I can look for checker map. I was looking for this. Let me go to my material preview. So I'm going to see it. I will say built in, and I'll say create checker texture. So it's going to create my checker texture on this. Let's say 2K. Okay. So 2K, and you can see that everything, the squares are all nice. There's no bigger square, there's no smaller square. Everything is even, which means my textures, if I'm to texture, this is going to be textured perfectly. Another thing you want to take note is I'm still using this free plugin. Let's see. Texture density checker. It will tell you how the textures, mostly if you are going to other software to do your texturing, which I might show you. So I can go to let's say 2K, and I'll say calculate TD, which is text identity, and I'll say set my values. So if I were to have this, for example, let's just do only this, and I'll say let's do you and unwrap, right? Sometimes it could be like this, or sometimes it could be like this, right? So that's why okay, let's say it's like this. Let's do this again. I'll select everything, and then I'll go to my, what did I do? Oh, I selected my poly mesh again. Okay, so it's back. Let me go back to object mode, and I'll make sure I will disable my ability to select the polygonal mesh. Okay, so now I can select everything, go to edit mode, and you can see how it looks like. So I can say calculate TD. So if I select the smaller ones, I'll come to my texture density. I'll say calculate TD. It's going to calculate it, and then I'll need to select everything. I'll say set my TD. Are you seeing? Now it's not going to be equal with the rest of them. Okay, and I can increase the TD, or I can do a 1K TD. So this is a 1K resolution texture density. This is a 512 resolution texture density. And then this is a 2K. So 2K is nice. So when I've done this, I can now come to my UV toolkit, and I'll say pack UVs, and it's going to pack it beautifully well. But I can also come here and I'll say average island scale. It's going to average it, and I'll say pack island if you don't have the plugin. But like I told you, my all-time favorite is this. Beautiful. So now with all of this done, let me take out my textures. Remove all. Okay, cool. Okay, so with my UVs done and well arranged, I can now go back to my layout, and I'll make sure this, okay, I disabled it, been selected. So select this, and I'll snap it back to my origin. So if you want to be able to snap this back to the origin, what I did was I did Alt G. But Alt G is not going to work for you perfectly if you've not done something which is called applying your location. So when I applied my location, it's made, currently you can see this is -1 meters to the X. But if I press Alt G, you can see to come back to the 000 point. So my origin reset and went back to the 0 point. So that's why I'm able to do this. If maybe I say, okay, let's say set origin to geometry, you can see that my origin is here, and I press Alt G. This is where it's going to go, right? So for me to be able to do that while my mesh was in the origin, I did the Control A. Okay, while my mesh was in the origin, I did Control A and I did apply location. But if I should do this here, I'm going to have some sort of error. Let me show you. If I say apply location, it's going to apply. Okay, you can see that the origin comes here, and then when I press Alt G, still no change. But I'm going to Control Z it and make sure I go back to where it was. Okay, cool. Okay, so now my high poly mesh is in the origin and my low poly mesh is in the origin. Now for the baking, since we are still inside of Blender, I'm going to show you a Blender plugin to do the baking. It's called Simple Bake. But if you don't have the money to get the Simple Bake plugin, there are ways to also get your baking done in Blender. I taught it in one of my old videos. I think that was modeling a Schweppes scan in Blender. Yeah, I taught how to bake there. But let me just do a quick overview here. Okay, so I'll click on my low poly mesh and I'll go to my shading workspace, and then I will have to create a new material for it. Do I have anyone? I have series of materials. Okay, I think I did one called big test. Okay, let's delete this. To be able to do this, what I did was I came to my shading workspace. I came down here and I said new, and I name it whatever I want to name it, and I saved it to a particular location in my laptop. By saving it, I will have to come, like I've already created the image here, but it's not saved. Yeah, and if it's not saved, it's going to read errors. So what I did, I came here and I clicked on image and I say saved image, and I saved it to a particular place in my laptop. Okay. So after it's saved, I'll come here and I'll do Shift A. I go to texture, image texture, and then I'll bring back that image I did. Let me just undo back to where I was. So with that, this image created, I'm going to make sure it's selected, right? And I'll come to my color space and I'll make sure that my color space is in non-color data since I want to bake just a normal map. Once again, I just want to pick the blade high and the blade low. So let me just hide the rest of the object for now. Okay. So I'll make sure that this is selected, and then I'll come to, so I'll select the high poly first, shift select the low poly. Okay, oh no, sorry. High poly, hold down control and select the low poly. This is in the outliner. If I were to be here, I can just do this and both of them will be selected, but I need to make sure that the high poly is selected first before I select the low poly, okay? So with that, I'll come to my properties settings, which is render properties settings. I will scroll down to, oh, I need to make sure I'm in cycles, because if I were to be in EV, I'm not seeing that big option here in EV. So I need to make sure I'm in cycles. And then I will scroll down to bake. And then, oh, there's the option to bake for multi-resolution. And I've already applied my modifier, but let's just leave that for now. And then let's come down. What I want to bake, I will have to switch this to normal. I want to bake normal. Tangent is fine. XYZ, that's beautiful. And I'll say I'll enable selected to active. Margin, I'm leaving it at 6 pixels. Okay, and then another thing you might want to do, you don't need this amount of sample. I think 2 is fine. If I was going to do this. And before you hit the big button, please save your work. Blender can crash. And then let's go down and let's check it one more time. Margin, this, output, image texture. Okay, just checking if I'm missing anything. And then I'm going to hit bake. It's working, it's taking its beautiful time to bake. It's done, and then let's see how it looks like. Lots and lots of errors I'm having. There's an overlap. So to correct that, let me see. Okay, let me select my blade low. Okay, so I would need my mesh to be much more outside, okay, than my high poly. So let's select all of this. Let's use the move tool, and then I'm just going to move it out some more, because I need my low polygonal mesh to be wider than my high polygon. Okay, I have to fix all of this, switch to normals, and then I'm going to drag this out. I think I'm going to undo that, Ctrl Z, and then I'll select the faces. So now I'm going to move it evenly. So I need to do this. Let's see. Okay. I'm just making sure I'm having some nice overlaps. Okay. And I'm making sure the low poly mesh is just above the high poly. My mouse is really acting up, guys. I need a good mouse. The first mouse I bought got spoiled. Like, I clicked the life out of the mouse. I need to invest on a very, very expensive mouse. I'm buying cheap mouse, guys. Okay, I think this is fine. Let's save. And then let's do the baking one more time. Hit bake. No valid. Okay. So I need to first select the high poly. Shift select the low poly. Good. I can see some stuff here. Yeah, we're going to have errors here. Let's just correct it. Seen another one there. So this is how we do the correction inside of Blender. You can see another one there, I see another one there. Oh well, I'm just going to ignore all of them. I'm just showing you how to do it. So I'll click bake. It's taking its time to bake. And then it's done. I see this is way, way better, but there's still some more stuff I can clean. But let me show you how it looks like. So I'll press Shift A and I'll just search for normals. So, oh no, not this one. Normal map, yep. And then I'll connect normal to normal and then color to color. And if I switch to my material preview, let's make it metallic. Can you see? Let's hide the high poly. Rather, let's just bring it, let's go to our local view and the material preview. Let's move the low poly to, okay, so which one is the high poly and which one is the low poly, guys? Can you tell? If I zoom in, you should be able to tell now, right? Because there's this error and cleanup that we could do to make it much more better. Look at that space here. Okay, so that's how you do it by using the Blender's default bake option. But I have a plugin called the Simple Bake plugin. So if I want to use Simple Bake plugin, I'll just come down here. Let me clear this. So now I will make sure everything is on hidden. Okay, so I'll select all of them like this. Let's go to solid. I'm going to have to remove the material from them because I added some basic material for visibility. Okay, so I don't want them in while I want to bake. I just want to get the normal map. I don't need any other stuff. This Simple Bake plugin is still confusing me. Okay, so let's check. Beautiful. So I'll select all of them. I'll come to my render settings, scroll down to where I will have Simple Bake. I'll open it. I have my, so there's PBRO Bake and there's Cycles Bake. PBRO Bake, as the name says, PBRO Physical Based Rendering Bake. What that does is all this, if I had, PBRO Bake is if I have this, for example, and I have series of, maybe I have series of materials. Let's do simple. Okay, let's say I have this kind of material and I connected, there was something connected here, there was another connected here, and all that stuff, you know. So let's say I have something like this, you know, this is a noise texture. And if I had maybe another color here, let's say a ramp, let's say I have color ramp somewhere around here, and, you know, I did some, you know, some node connection and all those other stuff here, I can actually bake this to my low poly mesh, or I can just bake it and get the data so that I can take them to maybe a game engine, as the case may be. But let's focus. Let's focus. So back to what was I? simple bake. Okay, so that's PBR bake. Why cycles bake is if I want to bake my sunlight, all my information I had in my scene. I wish I could open the scene for you, but I can't. That's what the cycles bake does. It bakes your lights, all your settings, and everything you've done, bakes it for you. And then when you take it to another software, let's say Unreal Engine, for example, when you import it into Unreal Engine, it's going to show you just how it was in Blender. That's how it's going to show you in Unreal Engine. Even if you add sun here and there, those shadows are still going to be the way they are from Blender because you baked it in. Okay, yeah. So next thing, I'm going to do settings. Okay, I have a preset, that's fine. Bake objects. So like I said, I'll select all of them and I'll do add. So when I add it, I use a function called bake to target. If it's just like this, I can just bake it out and get my normal map, and then I'll go to my low poly and then apply those stuff to my low poly. But why will I do that when, yeah, this is simple bake. So I'll say bake to target, and then I will get the target object, and I'll start clicking the target object, but you can only click one at a time. Let's say, for example, let me show you this. If I click this, I'll say this. You can see that, but we still have other objects from our low poly mesh, right? So it's not working. I need more. I need to be able to select all of them. So what simple bake does is that there's a function called this is standard bake. Now there's a function called auto mash high to low. When I click auto mash high to low, it's going to look for the name that has that matches with it, which is handle high, handle low, this, that, blade high, blade low, and like currently it is selecting what I have in this collection. Yeah, what I have in this collection. So let me rename this collection. Okay, cool. It's working. So let's hide it. Now that it's working, you can see that from simple bake, there is an error here. It is saying that no object match is found. So what I'll now have to do, I can now select this one. I can come to my battery name one more time, and I'll look for dots. I'll search for dot low this time, and then I'll replace it with underscore low. So let's see. Click OK, and then it's worked. But we don't want all these numbers because simple bake will not be able to find it. You can see that the moment I correct it, it updates itself over here. This one is supposed to be ladder wrap, LATHR underscore low. Okay, did it work? I'll have to check. This is okay, so we see I have ladder wrap high and ladder wrap low. Okay, there's a space here and I didn't have a space, and it's not case sensitive. Ah, beautiful. You can see this is capital letter and this is a lower letter W. So it's not case sensitive, which means it's working fine. Auto match by mesh name. So I'm gonna come down this place, this value I like to be 0, and then ray distance. Ray distance is saying like so it's going to calculate the light bounce between the high poly and the low poly. So back to my render settings. So I have cage extrusion, this fine. Ray distance, like I said, is a space between the high poly and the low poly. The light bounce is going to calculate the light bounce and then do the baking. So this is ray distance, okay. PBR bake, I'm going to select just normal. I just want the normal map. I don't want any other stuff. Special bake, I don't need any special bake. Oh, under PBR bake, we're in Blender, so we're using OpenGL. If I was going to take this stuff into maybe a gaming software like Unreal Engine, for example, Unreal Engine uses directrix. So I'll have to switch this from OpenGL to directrix and all that stuff. Let's leave it in directrix, for example, and then special bake, nothing. Texture settings, I want it to be 2K, okay. And then this bake margin is 8. You can reduce it if you want. It does not really matter. What the bake margin is saying is the distance. Let me do this. Okay, cool. The 8 pixels you saw there, but before it was 6 in the default Blender bake. So it means that the distance from here like this to here, that is the 6 pixels it was talking about, or rather in our case it was 8 and then I switched it back to 6, okay? So let's continue. Clear existing bake image before, yep, if there's anyone, or I can delete it from my laptop manually. Oh, anti-aliasing, that's fine. I want that. Export settings. This / means is going to create a folder called simple bake and then export our bake into this place. system base, that's okay. Keep internal image, that's fine. See UV settings. I don't want any UV map. Okay, say prefer existing UV map to be called simple bake. I already did that. If I come to my data tab and I'll come to UV, you can see that I already named this UV to be called simple bake. So back to where we were. Okay. And then other settings, apply bake. Okay, yeah. So now by default, this is not going to be selected. You can say copy object and apply bake. It means that it's going to copy our low poly object. It's going to create its own version of it and then apply the bake to it. That's fine. Or you can just do this, say apply bake to original objects, and then it's going to give you some warning. You can adhere to the warning or ignore. And then you can switch this to either CPU or GPU, whatever case may be. Both of them works fine. I'm going to use CPU. Okay. And then I like just doing this, just clearing any data I have under utilities. And then once again, before you bake, save your work. And then now I can say bake. So you see what's going to do? The same thing we did is creating a dummy material, baking those textures to those materials, and then applying the textures to the objects. I only did the correction for the blade. I did not do the correction for the rest part of the mesh. I can still see some overlapping here. So you can simply correct all of this now so that when you bake, it's going to come out better. I can still see some around here. You know what? I'm going to ignore that. And then let's do for this one. So for this, I can just add the Shrinkwrap modifier, and let's see how it's going to look like, and let's target the undo I. Okay, apply it, go to edit mode. Let's manually do the tweaking because remember that it needs to be above the high poly. Let's check the other side. I swear I feel like breaking this mouse, guys. My middle mouse button is not pressing. And I just got this mouse like, I think 3 months ago. That's what I get for buying a fake mouse. Okay, so I'm just scaling it out. I swear. You see, I'm pressing. I have to press it very hard. This mouse is crazy, guys. I cannot be doing this. Come on. Ugh. I swear I need to get in the mouse. So I'm making sure every other one has a very good overlap. Okay, so same thing. We'll have to this later let's select everything and then just scale it out. We can just scale everything out, and then when we're done with the baking, we can come back and adjust it back to the way it should be, right? We can simply use the Shrinkwrap modifier and then just let's set the eye poly. We can use Shrinkwrap modifier and then just wrap it back to surface. Okay, this is beautiful. So let's do that baking one more time. You can see I'm having some stretched UVs over here. Dear Lord, mouse, I'm coming. I think I have a backup mouse. Hit that backup mouse right now. Okay. God, this is much more better. The only downside to this mouse is that I've clicked the button so much that the left click is double clicking. But I prefer how soft this mouse is on my hand compared to that one I was using. This mouse looks a little bit slower than the previous one. Okay, so let's see. It's fine. Let's save our work. And then let's go to the simple bake one more time. Make sure everything is visible. So let's go to simple bake. No error, 00, yada, and no, and then, okay, so let's save it. And then bake. Okay, so I forgot that I didn't tell it to assign the bake to stuff. So I'll have to do the assignment myself. You can go to simple super Hive to get your plugin. You see, This is so beautiful. And if you look at it, it's just a flat image. How would I know? How would you know if I didn't tell you? Okay, and there you have it. We've transformed our super high poly, which is about, let's go to our layout, and then let's hide this. Let's leave our super high poly. And you can see it's about 14.7 million tries, right? We've transformed it to our low poly mesh, which is barely under 2K. Isn't this wonderful? This is a very fundamental skill for anyone that is serious about 3D modeling for games, films, or real-time applications, right? So let's do a recap. What you've learned, the importance of retopology for performance and animation, how to use Blender's tool to create clean topology, even though I didn't go deep, okay? Then the magic of baking and how to set it up in cycles. And then I told you how to use another suite plugins, which is the simple bake plugins, and then how to apply and utilize your normal map for stunning results. Now, what's next for this model? We've got a fantastic low poly mesh, but it's currently not textured. This is just some, for visualization. We'll be diving into texturing this model, but I don't want to do it inside of Blender. I prefer to use another software called Substance Painter, and it's not free. It's a paid software. There we explore adding colors, roughness, metallic properties, and more inside of Substance Painter. All of those things can be done inside of Blender, but I really don't have the patience to be doing adding node and I'll go and download some grunge textures and all that stuff when I know I can do it easier inside of Substance Painter. Or I can even use Photoshop. Those are not free softwares, they are paid. Okay, so if you found this tutorial helpful, please hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and then ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on the next part. Let me know in the comment section if you have any questions or what you would like to see covered next. Happy modeling, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.